Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Integrity Restored podcast. I'm Jim O'Day, your host, and I'm blessed to be joined by my new friend, Dr. Joseph Birli. Dr. Birli is the president and CEO of Bethany's Children's Home since 2019. He has led the organization with a strong people-first philosophy. Under his leadership, Bethany has overcome challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic and deepened his commitment to providing healing-centered, trauma-informed care to children and youth affected by abuse, neglect, trafficking, and abandonment. Dr. Birli is also now the author of a new book, From Prostitute to President, which is releasing today on the day we're recording this. It's not the day you folks are going to see it, but it will be on the shelves and available by the time you either listen to or watch this program, and we'll talk more about that. Dr. Birli, welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
It's a true blessing, and the work that you guys at Bethany are doing is incredible. As you know, the mission here at Integrity Restored is to help individuals, families, clergy deal with the problem of pornography. And you guys are dealing with one of the byproducts of a pornified society, and that's this increase in trafficking. So if you could just talk to us for a few minutes about what you do at Bethany.
Sure.
And then we'll talk a little bit more about just the scope of trafficking problem.
Sure. Well, in order for me to do that, I have to kind of go back a little ways. Bethany Children's Home has been around for over 160 years. We began in 1863, just serving children who had lost parents. We had a lot of sibling groups. So obviously, through the decades, we have evolved. But one of our missions has always been, and I often talk about, where we've always been in the business of helping children and families heal from the unfortunate circumstances that they encounter in their lives. It just so happens today, the trending of child welfare has evolved to not have orphanages anymore, but we have residential treatment facilities. My background is in trauma work. I'm a specialist in trauma care. I've been teaching graduate counseling for the last 20 years for several universities. I'm currently at a local university here in the Reading area. And I'm a firm believer that healing is for everyone. That's my philosophy of teaching. That's my philosophy of counseling and my philosophy of leading, that we have a duty to help people be restored in their struggles, their unfortunate life circumstances of abuse or neglect or trafficking as we've encountered. So as we've evolved over the last several decades, the government had put together a legislation called the Family First Act back in 2018, which required organizations like Bethany Children's Home to become a certified specialized area. And one of those areas was human trafficking of children. And so we became certified in that area during the COVID pandemic. That resulted in us being the first organization, residential organization, to serve this population in the state of Pennsylvania in a residential setting. So, we are firm believers, like I said, of just as children and youth embark on coming to our campus, that I call it a healthy selfishness. Take opportunities that are before you to heal, and we will offer you as many different ways through that healing that we possibly can. We believe in a holistic approach, so we look at every aspect of the individual as they arrive with us, from education to spirituality, to vocations, to relationships, whatever physical body. So we have different avenues to bring healing through various non-traditional therapeutic ways. We do therapy on the basketball court, is what I say, or in the art studio. And so for the young boys and girls that do come to us, we want to cater to what their interests are as part of their healing process. So that's what we do.
I don't know if it's appropriate, and if you can't answer this question, I understand. But how many kids do you have in the facility right now?
Sure. It varies from day to day, week to week, because we run an emergency shelter that we could get 4 or 5 calls in an evening to take siblings from a family that may be in danger of something. And then we've been running a program over the last 5.5 years, our immigration program, which just ended under this current administration. But we were reuniting or sponsoring more than 300 children within a year in that program alone. So from day to day, we range, I would say, from 60 to 70 children to 80, 90 children on any given day, because we have children coming and going so often who are also managed by the court system.
Yep. And one of the things with this book coming out that I wanted to certainly touch on, this is an incredible journey for you personally, Doctor. Here you sit before me, a distinguished looking gentleman, the president, the CEO of this incredible organization, doing amazing work, God's work, honestly. And yet your background would be what most people would call incredibly traumatic. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. Never did I think in my life that I would ever be sharing my story. But as we all tend to look for purpose in our lives and realize that God has a purpose in the direction He chooses to take us and to be effective. And I never believed I would be, first of all, president of an organization, let alone a child welfare organization, and serving children who unfortunately have had life circumstances that result in them being trafficked either by their families or their caregivers. So we specialize in caring for children. Every child that comes to Bethany has either been trafficked or is 100% at risk of trafficking. So many of the children that we've had, and I know your program is about pornography, we've had children who have been sold into pornography by their grandparents. We've had parents who have held their children at gunpoint, forcing them into sexual activity for pornography purposes. And so every time I think I've heard the worst of what a caregiver could do to a child, I hear something worse. But what this did for me, it really had to shed some light on my own healing journey. I've only come to where I am because I relied on education and work as my escape from my own trafficking life circumstances. When I was 9 years old, my stepfather would take me to an adult male bookstore and sell me to people there, the men there. And so what I learned early on was through coercion that I lived in fear. That he would kill my family, my mom and my siblings, and that if I didn't do what he told me to do, I would be beaten. And so it came to a place where someone in my life said, when are you finally going to deal with your stuff? And while I'm also trying to help others. I didn't become a counselor to heal myself or any of that. I just figured I'd bury it all and work. I've worked 2 full-time jobs for the majority of my life and career. And then God had a different purpose for me to share this story. And it hasn't been easy. I just spoke about it yesterday to a bunch of people, and they ask a lot of questions. And but again, my purpose in writing this book has been about showing individuals that they don't have to stay captive to their historical trauma or any of their life experiences in their history, but that they can overcome and prevail and be resilient and be strong and courageous and believe in themselves. And to do that, healing is necessary, healing is possible, and you can do that through so many different modalities of clinical counseling. But also, it's really important to go through a forgiveness process. And I teach that in the counseling program that I work in. I can honestly say, as I sit here today, that's not easy. Like I can't tell people to forgive. We can't
Right.
engage in the counseling process and push people into forgiveness prematurely because it could be more damaging. So I'm a firm believer that we have to walk that journey with people and be compassionate and comforting to where they are in that process of healing, in order to help people along to not remain captive, but that they can be successful and accomplished in whatever they want to do. And that's the only reason I've ended up where I am.
Well, it's incredible. And I can honestly tell you, after 200 and something episodes of this podcast, I've never before had tears running down my face, Doc. And never before heard such a story of hope and resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever your struggle, there is great hope. Please listen to the doctor. Please learn to forgive. And number one, forgive yourselves.
That is the message. And I know a lot of, as a counselor, I've worked with a lot of faith-based clients. And I got to say, faith-based folks have the hardest time forgiving themselves. And I find that very intriguing when it's the core essence and foundation of most people's faith. And so therefore it's like, come on, you deserve to have that freedom through forgiveness. So allow yourself that. And what I tend to find is people tend to punish themselves more. And it's usually out of the shame and guilt of what they've encountered in their lives. And so a lot of the work we do is about helping the children that come here to refute the lies that they've been told. And we all do. We all have lies in our head that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, or whatever. And we go through our lives believing these things instead of encouraging ourselves that, you know what, I am smart. I can do this. I can overcome.
I am good enough.
I am good enough because of, the humanity of what I've gone through allows me to say, you know what, I don't have to stand by and be mistreated. And so part of what we have to teach our youth today is you deserve healing, you deserve, wholeness, you deserve to be the human being that God created you to be, whatever that may look like, whatever those struggles are.
And Doc, excuse me, one of the things we really try and stress here at Integrity Restored in our Catholic understanding, we're automatically good enough. We are beloved sons and daughters of a Father who loves us. That's enough. It may not feel like that in our human nature, but that's a true reality that we have to learn to embrace. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, if you're watching us and this touches something, if you had a similar experience or your struggle with pornography is just so deep and you're so sick and tired of it, know that you're still enough and hope and healing is possible. Doc, I wanted to talk for a couple minutes about the correlation between pornography and trafficking. We've heard over the years, 10 years I've been doing this now, just celebrated my anniversary. The traffickers use pornography to groom the children, to teach them what to do, to normalize all these sexual encounters. And it's just getting worse. What can you tell us about that?
So I can speak from my experience initially. That's how I learned about the sexual acts that I was forced to do. It was through the porn of in the adult bookstore. And so that in itself was my first understanding of, oh, this is what's expected of me. And this is what, you're absolutely right. It was part of the grooming. However, what we tend to see, let me take pictures of you. You're going to be on magazines. It's that concept that even parents get sucked into, to believing that their child is going to be protected, or they're part of the problem. They know that money can be made. It's $1 billion a year business here just in the United States. It's one of the highest grossing fiscal income selling kids. It's in our country. That's the United States. A lot of people think that this happens
somewhere else.
Right. And it's not. We're in the corridor of human trafficking from New York City to Florida. We've had cases of kids being sold at Hershey Park and Dorney Park in the bathrooms by their parents. We've got kids being sold to the school bus drivers on the way to school. Like, there's circumstances that people don't think are really happening. 13-year-olds are being sold for getting pregnant and selling the babies. There's labor, there's food, there's shelter. This is what people are being sold for. Kids are being sold for, and so in some cases it is for survival, but it's horrible. It is what it's the reality of what's happening. And so here at Bethany, what I've had to change up linguistics. We don't have house parents here because many times parents are the ones
are not safe.
Right. And so if I put a child into a cottage where they have to answer to a house parent, it can be re-traumatizing. Or I don't offer a family-like environment because honestly, every one of our families is going to be different. How could I mirror any healthy, wholesome family? I can't, because it's going to be different for every single human being. I can teach a family value, a family concept, and we're going to do that. But I can't say, you know what, I'm going to give you a family-like environment when your family is part of what maybe resulted in you having to be here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. And, my mind is just blown, honestly. And I'm in this work. But ladies and gentlemen, till we have these conversations, till we bring this stuff out of the darkness, guys, it's happening all around us. It is in our neighborhoods. Dr. Birli, you grew up, not in a slum. And it happened to you. It's happening all around us. There's people sitting next to us on Sunday in church who have been trafficked or whose children are being trafficked today.
Yeah.
God help us.
And one of the sad parts of that is some of the children don't even realize that as they grow up. I've had a young teenager who comes into our emergency shelter who's had sex with 6 different men in a week. And we do the assessment of sex trafficking. And she has a meltdown because she realizes this is what's been going on. But that's all she knows.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that gets me, I had a woman on a few years ago, a young woman. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go back in the archives and check out the show. Her name was Kiki Rocha. And she was trafficked by her family starting at 9 or 10 years old. And she just thought that was a normal part of family life. Like, this is what you do to help your family. She had no idea until she got much older and started talking to other people about, well, I got to do this for my family. And they were like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And It's interesting that you say that, because as a 9-year-old, I knew something wasn't right. I knew something was amiss with this, with my stepfather, but it came with the threats immediately.
Yeah.
So he he taught me to go hunting, and he would tell me, "This is how you're going to be taken out. We'll have a hunting accident and you're not going to survive it." Or that's how he would take out my mom or my siblings.
Hmm.
And so that fear of um, keeping everybody safe was on me as that 9-year-old. But as I grew up and started to realize I've got to disassociate my brain from everything that's happening. And so I remember those Saturday mornings, cartoons, there would be the public service announcements that would come across about education is power. And so I believed
Right.
the more I went to school, the more powerful I'd be, the more I'd be able to have control of my own life. And so I kept going to school. I kept going to school, and I kept working jobs all the time. And
Yeah.
that helped protect me, is what I saw. That got me out.
Hmm.
But the bottom line was, I didn't do the internal healing during
Right.
all that. And so I had to come to a place, if I was going to ever overcome my history, I needed to do that. And so when you spoke of something earlier, I'll never forget my therapist saying to me, "What would you tell the little boy now if you could, as a man?" And I had to wait, and I listened to my mind, I listened to my heart. And I was honest, I was transparent. I looked up at him and I said, I would tell him just to do it, just kill yourself,
Oh gosh.
because life is too lonely. It was too, there was fear. I was just so afraid of everything, and I was apologizing for everything. And I remember
Mm.
when I looked up at him, he had a tear coming down his face. And it was in that moment I realized from him, somebody's understanding my pain, someone's getting it. And up until then, I hadn't really experienced that. And that was in my 50s.
Wow.
So I've lived my whole life. I'm mid 50s now. But I remember that moment being so pivotal to my own healing, that
Yeah.
person is,
Being
yeah,
heard.
this person gets it. And I
Yeah.
got to be honest, there were some faith based communities that I worked in, that I went to, that didn't help me in those areas. And I struggled with that.
Oh, I get it. One of the lines I always use when I'm out speaking at men's conferences or even priest
Yeah.
conferences, you know, we're standing outside of mass on a Sunday after mass, and we're all hanging out or drinking coffee, having donuts, whatever. And somebody comes up to us, Doc, and they say, "Oh, I'm struggling with alcohol, or I'm struggling with drugs." And man, we got people jumping over the pews to help them. If that same person comes up and says, "Hey, I'm struggling with pornography addiction, I'm struggling with sex addiction," well, we all lower our eyes and walk
Yeah.
away. God forgive us for that, ladies and gentlemen. Stop it. This is as real as alcohol addiction, as drug addiction. We have to help people with all their struggles, even the ones that make us
So, as you're speaking to that, the reason I've stuck by the name of my book, From Prostitute to President, is I never believed I could ever stand in a boardroom, or that I could stand before a
right.
congregation, or that I could be respected as a professional ever. And so that story was going to go to my grave with me, because
Right.
when I was old enough to sell myself and choose my own, I chose my own. Um, that filled me with a deep hatred and shame of
Yep.
myself, that I believed I was evil, because the church also told me I was evil. And so that's where I struggled. Do I do this? Do I come out and have this book be there and tell my life? But I believed I had to, so kids know it's okay. You're worthy. You will be loved and you will be cared for, and we will respect you regardless of your decisions, regardless of how you've been treated, because honestly, I think that's the God I know.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to love us. He wants to bless us and
Mm.
hold us in the pain that we've all experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This conversation, Doc. So the book is called From Prostitute to President. Where can people go to buy this
It
book, Doctor?
will be on Amazon, Kindle, and there'll be hardback and paperback with Barnes and Noble as well. And there will
Awesome.
be some links that will be going out later today and tomorrow.
So we'll have those links, ladies and gentlemen, in the show notes on the YouTube channel. And then, Doc, same thing with the Bethany's Children's Home. Where do people go to find more information?
Sure.
And if they want to help
Yeah.
you, can they make a donation? Can they help you?
Yeah, here at Bethany Children's Home, like I said, we do a lot of fundraising for non-traditional therapeutic services. We have pet therapy. We do therapy in a music studio. We have a pottery studio. I believe in our youth writing their stories, because the more they get to share their stories, the more healing gets to take place. And so we do a lot of that. We do therapy on the swings and the golf carts. It's not in an office. And so we need our facilities to also represent that. We do equine therapy, which costs some money, that isn't covered by other resources. And so what we do a summer concert series. People can go to our website and see everything that we do year round. We have a lot of events and activities. We like to involve our youth in them, to be able to share what they are experiencing, whether it's through art or music. And so please go to our website. There will be information on our website about the book as well, and why.
And the website, give us the address, Doctor.
It's bethanyhome.org.
Bethanyhome.org, ladies and gentlemen. Please visit.
It's not to be confused with Bethany Christian Services. That's another organization that we partner with, but it's bethanyhome.org, Bethany Children.
Bethanyhome.org. And ladies and gentlemen, please visit, look at the incredible work they're doing. And if you are in a position to help, please do so. Doc, I want to take this opportunity to thank you. What an incredible conversation. And also to invite you back on. We'd love to have you on again to talk more about how we all can get involved and help protect all our children from this problem.
Great. I would.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. As always, God bless your journey.